Despite the heavy deployment of security officers to the Mokola area of Ibadan, youths in Oyo State took to the streets to express their displeasure over the harsh economic conditions in the country, while urging the federal and state governments to put in place better economic policies and programs to address the high cost of living and tackle insecurity, corruption and poverty. Our correspondent, Olutayo Famous Call, has more.
The main gate to the entrance of the secretariat in Agodi area of Ibadan is unusually locked on a Monday morning in anticipation of the planned protest by residents of the city to express displeasure over the lingering economic hardship, which has left bitter tales in the minds of many Nigerians. As early as 7 a.m., several youths converged on Mokola roundabout, where the protest commenced, with several aggrieved Nigerians carrying various signposts along the streets to protest the high cost of living and economic hardship, alongside unfavorable government policies, which they say have made their lives unbearable.
The whole country is hungry. We just need their intervention. We do not want to fight with them. We are not here to cause any problem. We are just here to tell the government our problems, that they should just look into this for us. That they should please look into the problem of the masses. Help us. Have mercy on us. People are hungry. People are dying daily of hunger. Insecurity is killing people. We just need them to help us. They should just help us. They should just look into our case and be of help to Nigerians. That's just all we need. We are not here to fight. We are not hoodlums. We are not here to cause any disrupt to anybody. We just want to peacefully protest and tell the government what we want.
The protesters did not stop there. They took their message to other parts of Ibadan with a promise not to back down until hope is restored to the ordinary Nigerian.
Expect protest from any angle. It must not be me. It can be you. It is everybody, because the problem does not only affect only me, neither it affects everyone. So on this note, every Nigerian, whether and abroad, anywhere you find yourself, if you have the capacity, organize, we will be there for you. If anybody stop you, we will come for your rescue. It is a duty in which we are signing for, and we must collectively fight for our liberation. Enough of this hike in our cost of living. No, we cannot afford to eat 3 square meals a day. Why those that are governing us, they can eat and they are even riding on our own money. What they extort from us is what they used to live lavish.
Security officers mounted strategic points to forestall a breakdown of law and order, while urging calm among the youths. The police urged them to abide by the provisions of the Constitution in expressing their grievances.
We understand that people have rights for this kind of thing, but it is our duty as law enforcement to ensure that it is not hijacked by unscrupulous and mischievous elements who might want to make criminal proceeds from this kind of situation. As you can see from Mokola, which was the starting point of this movement, the police has covered, by foot and even with vehicles, following them step by step.
The youths promised not to back down until their demands are met. It is left to be seen how soon the government would attend to their requests. Olutayo Famous Call, Arise News, Ibadan.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Red Cross says 26.5 million people are in danger of acute hunger in the country and are in dire need of urgent aid. To reduce the harsh effect of the current cost of living crisis, the organization has announced a Hunger Crisis Appeal Fund in collaboration with the Commercial Bank, while philanthropists and well-to-do citizens are encouraged to donate funds to help provide humanitarian aid for vulnerable Nigerians. The humanitarian organization says the partnership will raise funds for emergency relief in areas like healthcare, nutritional support for pregnant and lactating mothers, water, sanitation, and hygiene initiatives. All right, Rufai, your take on this story, protests in Ibadan. This is in addition to protests we've seen in other parts of the country with regards to the level of hardship, hunger that people are facing in these times.
So first, I'd like to start unconventional this morning by commending the police force out there in Ibadan. That you stuck to your guns, there's no loss of life, there was no heinous activity, there was nothing untoward. You allowed the protesters to express their mind, you just provided security. That's what the police force should do. We should never have an incident that will ever be like NSAS again. Never in this country. Secondly, why are the protests? Yeah, there will be a protest. Inflation rate surging close to 30%, which I think is way more than that, because we need to rejig the way we calculate inflation. There's somebody on Twitter that constantly calculates inflation rate and economy, Stephen Hankel. And he says inflation should be about well over 40% as we speak in Nigeria. With surging inflation, occasioned by high level of insecurity in the agricultural belt where they provide most of these grains. So the problem is, legacy security issues in the agricultural belt where we provide most of these grains have not been solved over the years. There's a report that talked about the fact that we need close to 12 million metric tons of these grains, 4 major grains, sorghum, millet, and all of that. But most of the areas these grains are being produced, you don't have security around this. And rice, so the farmers have to run, or they have to pay heavy taxes. Also, you have logistical problems. So after providing the grains or providing tomato and things like that, to be able to move them downwards is a problem. Increased cost of diesel, for instance, have increased marginally the rates of rice because most of these farmers need diesel to power their irrigation machines. Attendant increase in cost of fuel, also attendant increase in cost of producing these materials, also the cost of security. All of these have morphed into forming what we have with the food crisis today. And that's why when they say 100,000 metric tons or 40,000 metric tons from the National Grain Reserve, which we have not seen thus far, because I keep asking, the Grain Reserve key loss. Yep. The key loss, we never see the food. We have not seen the food. So are the keys missing? But even with that 40 or 42,000 metric tons, it's a far cry, because when you calculate that for 2,000 metric tons, probably that'll give you well over 800,000, 50 kg bags and all of that. It will not go anywhere. People will mop it up. It's a big population. Red Cross say 26.5 million people face acute hunger. Red Cross, I respect the data because they have man-on-man data on the ground. Because the thing about most of these agencies is the fact that they are the ones that interface in these areas. So that's why you're seeing the protests everywhere. So what are we going to do? Or what should we do? If we can go back to that plan that President Tinubu talked about when he was launching the palliative of cultivating 150,000 hectares with most of these grains with improved seed variety, because yield too is another problem. We've not even talked about post-harvest losses. And also trying to rejig the silos and the national reserves in such a way that even if it's a joint partnership, they are properly run. Sometimes the other day somebody was on your show that was the head of those that bought the silos. And he talked extensively why the system is not working. And he had a very spirited input. If we can rejig that system while we also plant, we can probably be able to look at the next planting. Because I'm happy today, we thank God for the rains. The rain started today. If we can take this on, then we can plan for the next planting season. Last year, we couldn't do a lot of dry season planting because of the attendant problems. That's number one. Number two, another quick fix will be, and we've done this before, to be able to reduce the tariff on all of these grains. So at least we can get them ready, because most of the things that are pushing the cost up are the grains now. We have a good level of sustainability with the tubers, the yams and the likes and all of that. But we are also hampered with potatoes because of crisis and security issues in mango and other things. So if we can solve that problem, reduce tariffs on grains, and try as much as possible to show the production potential and start to beat back the legacy problems with insecurity, probably the next planting season should be a whole lot better.
I think it's most unfortunate that in the same country where agriculture used to be the mainstay of the economy, with all the plantations in the western region, the eastern region, with all the pyramids in the north, with Nigeria, a leading producer of palm produce and all that, that in 2024, food crisis may likely be the cause of the revolution, in quotes, that people have been talking about. It is unfortunate that in this same country, the same country of Operation Feed the Nation, the same country of Green Revolution, the same country where indeed in the Second Republic, the National Party of Nigeria made food provision of food and the banishment of hunger, part of his major priorities. And the Welfarist Unity Party of Nigeria also promised the people that there will be food abundance, there will be prosperity in abundance. It's a story of how we have lost it as a country. And that is why there have been protests in various parts of the country, in Niger State, in Kano State, in Sokoto State, in Osun State, in Lagos State, in Lagos State, and now on the streets of Ibadan, where from Mokola to Agodi and beyond to Bodija, angry youths and frustrated traders trooped to the streets, complaining that they are hungry. And you know that popular saying that when a man is hungry, he's not likely to listen to any other thing. Or as they put it, in the cliche, a hungry man is an angry man. But the protesters in Ibadan conducted themselves peacefully. They had said it would be a peaceful protest, and they carried their placards saying that Emelokun is not bringing them the hope that was promised, and that where is the hope, and that they are hungry, and that the hardship in the country is unbearable. With a bag of rice selling for close to 70 naira per 50 kg bag, with a loaf of bread priced beyond the reach of the ordinary man, with the cost of everything going through the roof, then of course the people, they have the right to cry out. And they conducted themselves peacefully, setting a good example for others who may want to express their frustration. And also the security agencies did well. In fact, before the protest, the Oyo State Police Command had issued a statement saying that people, the police, the Oyo State Police Command respects the right of the people to peaceful protest, and that the command will not tolerate any breakdown of law and order. And yet they provided the security. They were joined also by civil defense. Part of the job of the civil defense is to protect public infrastructure, and nobody vandalized public infrastructure. So the combination of the police and civil defense, yes, did a good job in Ibadan. But it's now for government, at both the national and subnational levels, to listen to the cry of the people. The people say, help us, we are hungry. And it is very obvious now that this is not the opposition organizing these protests, the way it comes up spontaneously. And at a time, the Nigerian Labour Congress is also serving notice and has declared a warning strike of 2 days, this same period, February 27 and 28. All of this should be a wake-up call for government to act more proactively. As for Red Cross, yes, Red Cross is to be commended. Red Cross, saves our soul all the time. And the Nigerian Red Cross, in partnership with EcoBank, the bank in question is EcoBank, is launching an appeal fund to address the hunger crisis. And I think it's a commendable effort. It shows the continuing value of the Red Cross, both locally and internationally, and its commitment to humanitarian support. Red Cross says it will act as an auxiliary to the government in Nigeria to ensure that help reaches all the communities where people need help. Children suffering from malnutrition, women unable to feed their children, and Nigerian Red Cross says it has a volunteer team of over 800,000 persons in all the 36 states of the Federation. I urge the general public to join Red Cross and EcoBank to support this appeal fund, so that it's not just government that we keep talking about. Protest alone will not solve the problem. There are ways in which others can also contribute. And the example of EcoBank in this regard shows how corporate entities can also be this Operation Feed the People, Operation Feed the Nation, Operation Banish Hunger. I think this is what is very important. And it must be remembered that Nigerian Red Cross Secretary General Dr. Abubakar Kende made a point that the effort that they are launching is in line with the social development goals. Social development goal number 1 says no to poverty. Social development goal number 2 says no to hunger. And in the face of that, Nigeria is battling poverty, battling hunger, and yet when our relevant ministries come around, they will say, oh, they are doing well with the SDG goals. Well, isn't this an open, confirmation of the fact that indeed Nigeria is not doing well on goals number 1 and 2, not to talk of the other goals on water, sanitation, and the rest of the priorities on social development goals?
Well, this Red Cross private institution collaboration is a clear example that what we are currently facing in terms of the hunger in the land must have all hands on deck, multi-stakeholder approach beyond just the government. Yes, the government has the first responsibility, the first response. However, what we have seen is that when it comes to human life and survival, everyone must then now take position to address this issue. I wonder why. Now, yes, we can talk about agriculture, and that's really important because we need a long-term, medium to long-term solution to tackling hunger. However, in the immediate, there are certain things that ought to be done. I remember going back to the 19th century, the Great Famine gave rise to the Temporary Relief Act of 1847, and then was what precipitated the soup kitchens that we see today, food banks that we see today, because there was crisis on their hands in Ireland at the time. When we see people taking to the streets because of the fact that they are hungry, we need an immediate response to this. And so what would immediate response look like? We need the government to begin to make policies, or at least, even if it's temporary, to see how we can establish immediate relief centers to either, one, meet the vulnerable by handing out food or some sort of soup kitchen, partnering with the private sector, or we need what was announced last year, but unfortunately we don't seem to see the impact of that, which is a conditional cash transfer. What had been said by this administration was part of the loan gotten from the World Bank, I believe was $800 million, would be used for conditional cash transfer. And that's why the conversation around the social register had come up, where they would do an audit of it to see whether it was properly done and if the names were actually correct. And then in the immediate, as a way to provide a safety net following the removal of fuel subsidy and the harsh impact on the people, there will be immediate responses before we then begin to tackle bigger issues around security and then the ability of farmers to go to their farm, and then distribution, the products that we bring out, looking at the borders, whether we should import or not, in the immediate, because what this government wants to do is to avoid a situation where there's a total breakdown of law and order because people don't have food to eat. Last week, I gave the example of Venezuela stemming from what the PDP governors had said. And what had been described at that time was that the headlines coming out from that country seemed like from the apocalypse, whereby you had people breaking into shops just to be able to access food, where people were looting, food trucks, just to eat, not because people tended to criminality, but because desperate times call for desperate measures. We are looking to avoid that in this nation currently. And so whilst we encourage the government to put in place immediate responses to this call and this cry, we don't have to wait for protests across the 36 states of the Federation to understand that we're in a food crisis. I think the president has already acknowledged that, saying that he had declared a state of emergency on food security. But beyond that is that the subnationals as well. Yesterday there were conversations around how much increased FAC allocation subnationals the state government had gotten, and they in themselves had a response or had a right of response to their people. What are they doing? We've heard stories of people giving out of food, batches. At this point, it's so desperate that that's what is actually needed currently, at least to act as a gap between when the government is ready to take it serious in terms of the medium and long-term solutions to hunger in the land. And then comes the civil society organizations, as we've seen with Red Cross and organizations like that, who have always, anyway, worked in this regard. But now they must ramp up and receive government support. So beyond Red Cross and private organizations partnering, the government must also have implementing partners as the CSO who already have contact with the people on the ground, to work with the people and already provide food and resources and supplies. It's important for us to take this seriously. When it comes to food, when it comes to hunger, it can change the trajectory of a nation. We've seen this happen in other nations around the world. We don't want that to happen. So what we're going to be looking out for in the next few days, responses from the state governments. what is being done in the interim to ensure that the most vulnerable of people at least have food on their table in the immediate. And then we can have conversations about the medium to long-term solutions, which we've been talking about for a very long time anyway, as to how to tackle food insecurity in Nigeria.